The morning I returned to Willow Brook, a pigeon shit on my shoulder, as if the universe wanted to remind me what a disaster I was. And honestly, it worked. Because 10 minutes later, I walked straight into the man I abandoned 6 years ago with the dumbest excuse ever uttered by a human being. I'm just going out to buy bread. Dr. Adrian Hale looked at me like karma itself had sent him a patient he didn't feel like saving, and for a breathless moment, I wondered if I should turn around, sprint to the nearest bus, and vanish again. But he stepped forward first. Elias. His voice was low, steady, too calm for someone who once held me like the world would end if he let go. And in that instant, I felt every mile of the years that had pulled us apart. I hadn't meant to return. I hadn't meant to see him. I hadn't meant for anything. But life doesn't care about intentions. Only consequences. And Adrian Hale was a consequence wrapped in a white doctor's coat, with eyes that still looked at me like I owed him a lifetime's worth of answers. You came back. He said it not as a greeting but as a sentence. I swallowed, fingers tightening around the warm paper bag from the bakery job I'd taken that morning. I forced a weak smile. Guess the bread finally ran out. His jaw tightened. Same old defense mechanism, I guessed. Because when Adrian got angry, he got quiet first. But the quiet now wasn't anger. It was hurt. And that was infinitely worse. 6 years earlier, I'd left Willow Brook with $50, a broken family behind me, and a heart that believed love was something you cut off early before it had the chance to rot. Adrian had been everything then. Hopeful, ambitious, stupidly kind. The kind of man who would hold you like the world made sense. The kind of man who scared the hell out of someone like me. I left before I could disappoint him the way everyone else eventually did. I didn't expect to ever see him again. But my mother's health had brought me back to this small, predictable town. Jobs were scarce. Money was tight. And the bakery on Maple Street needed a morning shift worker. Good bread, bad choices. My life's theme. Now, standing in the glow of morning sunlight, Adrian looked older but not tired. More solid, like the world had shaped itself around his stubbornness instead of beating it out of him. His dark hair was shorter. His shoulders broader. His presence heavier in the way someone becomes when they've carried more responsibilities than sleep. I hadn't earned the right to stare, but I did anyway. Adrian blinked once, the way he used to when deciding between truth or restraint. He chose truth. You disappeared. No note. No call. His eyes locked on mine. Do you know how many days I went to that stupid bakery thinking maybe you'd just come back? The words hit harder because they were delivered softly. Adrian never yelled. He always sliced quietly. I exhaled slowly. I know. A muscle in his cheek twitched. That all you've got? I opened my mouth. Closed it. Tried again. I was a mess. My dad had just kicked me out. I had nowhere to go. I was scared. And I didn't want you to save you? Adrian cut in. Because that's what you didn't want, right? For someone to choose you. His voice trembled at the end, barely enough for the average person to catch. But I wasn't the average person. I used to know his voice like I knew gravity. I looked down at the pavement. The sunlight pooled around our shoes like a spotlight on two failures who never learned their lines. Adrian let out a breath. And for a moment, I saw the ghost of the boy he'd been, the one who hugged me too tight and loved too loudly. You want to get coffee? He asked abruptly. I blinked. What? You heard me. He wasn't smiling, but something in his eyes softened. If you're going to give explanations, I'm not accepting them on a sidewalk. I've got 10 minutes before a shift. Come with me. It wasn't a request. The worst part? My legs moved before my brain approved the decision. The hospital cafeteria smelled the same as always: burnt caffeine and existential dread. Adrian sat opposite me, hands folded, the white coat draped perfectly on his shoulders like it belonged there. Like he belonged there. Like he belonged everywhere I had never managed to fit. He watched me with patient hostility. So, he leaned back. Talk. I wasn't sure where to start. Hey, sorry I abandoned you? Sorry I vanished without a word? Sorry I broke your heart because I didn't know how to carry it without dropping it? I settled on the least pathetic option. My father and I had a blow-up. He found out about us, or assumed at least, and he told me to leave. No warning, no conversation. Just out. And I panicked. I didn't know how to tell you without dragging you into the disaster. I paused. And I thought you deserved someone who wasn't a walking emergency. Adrian stared at me for a long time, his eyes searching my face like the truth might be hiding in my cheekbone structure. You disappearing made you more of an emergency, not less, he finally said. I let out a broken laugh. Yeah. I realized that now. Adrian didn't laugh with me. You hurt me. His voice was level, honest, not cruel. You left me at that bakery like you'd be back in 10 minutes. You kissed me goodbye at my door and then just didn't return. My throat tightened. I'm sorry. He looked at me with something unreadable. I don't want an apology. I want the truth. Why did you think I couldn't handle the real you? Why didn't you trust me with the chaos? Because love for me always came with conditions, I wanted to say. Instead, I whispered I wasn't good at being loved back then. His expression flickered, something like recognition and hurt entwined. And now? I swallowed. I don't know. His eyes held mine, searching, demanding. Liar. The word hung between us, warm and sharp. I looked away, jaw clenching. He always read me too well. Adrian didn't let up. You know exactly why you're back. You know exactly what seeing me does to you. So don't tell me you don't know. I stared at the table. The sunlight slanted across his hands, long fingers tapping once, impatient but controlled. Something burned in my chest. Something old. Something dangerous. Something I had buried 6 years ago. I forced myself to meet his gaze. You want me to say it? I whispered. Say what, Elias? The truth. His eyes didn't move from mine. Then say it. I exhaled shakily. Seeing you hurts. Adrian's lips parted, barely. But it also feels like coming home. The air shifted. He didn't smile. Neither did I. It wasn't a moment for smiling. It was a moment for all the things we never said back then, and all the things we might say now if courage ran deeper than fear. But time was cruel. His pager went off 3 sharp beeps that snapped us both back into the real world. Adrian stood, all doctor mode. Responsibility wrapped around him like armor. I have to go. He paused, eyes softening for the first time. But I'm not finished with you, Elias. My pulse skipped. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You don't get to walk back into my life and disappear again. Not this time. I swallowed. Adrian, he leaned in, breath warm by my ear. Figure out what you want. Because I'm not chasing you again. But if you want to belong to me, you're going to have to say it. Heat shot down my spine. And then he walked away. Just like that. Leaving me in a cafeteria with my heart trying to beat its way out of my ribs. I made it outside before the emotions crashed into me like a truck. The sunlight felt too bright. The wind felt too sharp. Everything felt too heavy. 6 years. 6 years of avoiding every piece of him. 6 years of pretending he hadn't been the only person to make me feel like I wasn't temporary. And now he wanted me to decide. Belong. The word echoed in my skull. But before I could fall apart completely, a familiar voice called out. Hey, Elias? I turned. Standing by the crosswalk was a tall guy with sandy hair and a crooked grin. Noah Caldwell. We'd been friends in high school before life scattered us like cheap confetti. Noah jogged over. Dude, you're actually back? For real? Thought you evaporated or something. I managed a thin smile. Yeah. Something like that. He studied me with perceptive eyes. You okay? You look like you got hit by a bus. A very attractive one, apparently. I almost choked on my own saliva. Subtle, Noah. Real subtle. He laughed. Please. Everyone in this damn town saw him dragging you into the hospital. News travels fast when the local prince doctor kidnaps someone. I groaned. Kill me. Noah raised a brow. So? You too. What's the situation? I hesitated. Complicated. Noah whistled. Translation, feelings. I shoved his shoulder lightly. Shut up. He grinned, then softened. Look, if you ever need a place to crash or talk or just hide from your own emotions, I'm around. I work nights at the fire station. Come by anytime. My chest loosened a little. Noah had always been steady, uncomplicated kindness. The type that didn't demand, didn't push, didn't burn. Adrian burned. Maybe that was the difference. Noah walked a few steps backward. Don't vanish again. Okay? This town's too damn boring without you. I watched him leave. Then I exhaled. My life had been back in Willowbrook for less than a day, and already the past was clawing at the present. And somewhere inside the hospital behind me was a man who wasn't finished with me. A man I had once loved. A man I might still love. And that was the part that terrified me most. The walk back to my mother's house felt longer than it should have. The kind of walk where every step carried a question I didn't want to ask myself. Willowbrook was too quiet for big emotions. The sidewalks were cracked, the mailboxes dented, and the autumn leaves scattered like confetti thrown by a bored child. Nothing here looked like it had changed except me. Or maybe everything had changed except me. My mother wasn't home. Her oxygen machine hummed softly in the corner, the rhythm steady, almost reassuring. I placed the bakery bag on the table and sat silently beside it. My reflection in the window didn't look like someone who had just reunited with the love of his life. It looked like someone who was drowning and trying very hard not to show it. My phone vibrated. A number I didn't have saved. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. Elias? The voice was low, familiar, controlled. Adrian. My throat tightened. I stood abruptly, nearly knocking over the chair. Yeah. I'm here. He didn't waste time. I have a break in 20 minutes. Meet me behind the hospital. The courtyard by the fountain. I frowned. I thought you weren't chasing me. I'm not, he replied. You're coming because you want to. And then he hung up. I stared at the phone like it had committed a crime. My pulse was already picking up speed, and part of me hated that he still did that to me. Another part of me own I tried to silence for years felt something else. Something like hope. I grabbed my jacket and left. The hospital courtyard was small, tucked behind a row of maple trees. The fountain in the middle was shaped like a half-opened lily, water falling over its petals in calm sheets. A peaceful place, considering most people outside were probably grieving, waiting, or praying. Adrian stood with his back to me, hands tucked into the pockets of his coat. His shoulders looked tense. He turned the moment he heard my footsteps. You came. You told me to, I countered. He shook his head. No, I told you the truth. Whether you listened was up to you. I didn't have a comeback for that. He stepped closer, eyes searching mine with that quiet intensity that always made me feel seen and exposed in the same breath. Listen, he started, his voice steadier than before. Earlier I said I wasn't finished with you, and I meant it. But I'm also not going to drag you into something you don't want. I'm not 22 anymore. I don't have the emotional stamina to chase ghosts. I swallowed. You think I'm a ghost? He held my gaze. You left like one. The words hit deeper than they should have, maybe because they were true. Adrian took in a slow breath. So I need you to tell me honestly what you're doing here. Not in town. Here with me. I opened my mouth, but he lifted a hand, stopping me. No excuses. No tragedies. No running commentary about your father. Just the truth. I closed my mouth. The truth tasted like fear, but I tried anyway. I came because I wanted to see you again. His eyes softened but stayed guarded. Why? Because you're the only thing I ever ran from that I regret. His throat worked visibly. For a moment he didn't speak. Silence stretched, heavy but not hostile. And then quietly he asked Elias, do you want this again? The ground shifted under me. The wind pushed dried leaves around like a restless chorus. I felt the weight of 6 years between us, heavier than it had been in the cafeteria. I wanted to say yes. I also wanted to say no. Both felt like lies. I don't know, I admitted. Adrian's jaw tightened, disappointment flickering across his eyes before he masked it. He nodded once, sharp, as if he had prepared for that answer. Then he stepped back. Okay. Something inside me twisted sharply. Just okay? He crossed his arms. I won't pressure you into giving me what you gave me before, which was nothing. That stung. Adrian continued. But I also won't let you stand here and pretend that you don't feel anything. Because I know you. I know when you're scared. And you're scared right now, aren't you? I didn't answer. You're terrified I'll hurt you, he said. Terrified I'll ask for more than you can give. Terrified I still love you. My chest squeezed. I hated how easily he read me. Or maybe I didn't hate it. Maybe I missed it. Adrian's voice lowered, softer now. What you should be terrified of is the fact that you never stopped caring. 6 years. And you still look at me like I'm the last thing you expected to want. My breath felt too shallow. He stepped closer again, but this time, gently, like approaching a deer that might bolt. I don't need an answer today, he said, but I need honesty. If you're staying in town, if you're really back, we need to figure out what we're doing. I licked my lips. I'm taking care of my mother. That's the main reason I'm here. And the second reason, Adrian pressed. You. The word slipped out before I could stop it. Adrian stilled. It was like the air itself paused. His expression wasn't triumphant. It wasn't smug. It was something far more dangerous. Tender. Elias. He said my name like a prayer he thought he'd lost. My body leaned forward before my mind caught up. Not fully, not obviously, just enough to betray me. He noticed. He always noticed. He exhaled shakily and stepped back only because a nurse stuck her head out of the door and called his name. Dr. Hale, room 214 needs you. He didn't take his eyes off me as he answered. Give me 1 minute. Then he turned back to me. We're not done. You keep saying that, I whispered. Because it's true. He walked past me toward the hospital entrance. But before stepping inside, he paused and glanced over his shoulder. Come by tonight. My place. Hey. I blinked. You're inviting me over? No. He hesitated, then clarified. I'm asking you to talk. Really talk. Without running. Without lying. Without disappearing. I opened my mouth to answer. But he said quietly, think about it. And then he vanished inside. I spent the rest of the day at the bakery, and it was hell. The ovens were hot. The customers were needy. The smell of cinnamon clung to me like regret. And every 5 minutes, my brain replayed the courtyard conversation like a movie I couldn't pause. Adrian wanted me at his place. 8 p.m. talk. No running. No lies. The rational part of me whispered that this was a terrible idea. The emotional part? It was too loud to ignore. By the time my shift ended, the sun was dipping behind the rooftops, turning the sky into a wash of orange and violet. I walked home, nerves building with every step. My mother was asleep when I checked on her, her breathing steady. 8 p.m. I showered, changed, stared at myself in the mirror for too long. Was I really doing this? I grabbed my jacket before I could talk myself out of it. Adrian's house hadn't changed much. A simple 2-story place with a front porch swing and warm lights glowing inside. The pumpkins on the steps suggested he still decorated for holidays, even if no one decorated with him. I stood in front of his door, frozen like a statue. My hand hovered over the doorbell. I didn't get the chance to ring it. The door opened. Adrian looked at me with an unreadable expression, as if he'd expected me and not expected me at the same time. You came, he said quietly. You asked. He stepped slightly aside. Come in. I walked in slowly. The house smelled like cedar and something citrusy, maybe his laundry detergent. Everything was tidy but lived in. A jacket draped over the back of the couch. A half-finished cup of tea. Medical textbooks stacked haphazardly. Felt like him. He gestured to the couch. Sit. I did. He sat across from me, elbows on his knees, fingers laced, posture tense. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, let's start simple. Why didn't you tell me the truth 6 years ago? I inhaled slowly. I was ashamed. Of what? Everything. My family falling apart. My father kicking me out. Not having a plan. Being dependent on you. Needing you. Adrian's eyes softened painfully. Elias, needing someone doesn't make you weak. It did then, I said quietly. You shouldn't now. I looked down at my hands. I'm trying. Adrian leaned closer. Trying isn't enough if you're doing it alone. The words shook something loose inside me. I lifted my head. What do you want from me? He didn't flinch. The truth. A place in your life. Not the whole thing. Not yet. But something real. My chest throbbed. And if I can't give that? He hesitated only a second. Then I'll walk away. The room seemed to tilt. Adrian continued, voice steady but heavy. I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself. I can't go through what happened before. I won't survive you leaving me twice. My heart felt like it cracked. Adrian stood and moved to the window, bracing a hand against the frame. The light hit him in soft gold, making him look impossibly human. Vulnerable. Beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. He didn't turn around as he spoke. The thing is, Elias, I never stopped waiting for you. I moved on, dated, worked, lived, but some part of me always kept the door half open. And now you're here, and I'm trying not to be foolish all over again. He finally turned, eyes glassy. So if you're going to break my heart again, tell me now. I stood. My breath shook. Adrian watched me like his world depended on my next words. I walked closer, each step echoing in the quiet room. When I stopped in front of him, we were inches apart. Too close. Not close enough. I lifted a hand, hesitated, then let my fingers brush his. He inhaled sharply. I don't want to break your heart, I whispered. I want to figure out how to stop breaking my own first. Adrian's eyes closed for a moment, as if absorbing the words. When he opened them, something had shifted. Softer, warmer, sadder. He cupped my cheek gently. Then let me help you. I didn't lean into his touch. I didn't pull away either. Instead, I whispered, I'm scared of you. He swallowed. Why? Because you're everything I ever wanted. His breath caught. And that's a bad thing? Terrifies me. He exhaled shakily. Yeah. Me too. For a long moment we just stood there, the air thick with old wounds and new possibilities. His thumb brushed my jaw, slow, deliberate. Then his voice lowered to a whisper. Elias. Yeah. If I kiss you right now, will you run again? My heart tried to break through my ribs. I forced myself to meet his eyes, honest and terrified. No. He didn't move. Neither did I. The moment hovered between us like a held breath, trembling with everything we'd been and everything we could be. But he didn't kiss me. Not yet. Instead, he whispered, then stay. And I did. I stayed. For the first time in 6 years, I didn't run. Staying didn't mean everything became easy. It just meant I stopped running long enough to feel the weight of what I'd avoided. Adrian stepped back first, as if giving me space to breathe. Or maybe giving himself space to steady whatever storm was brewing behind his calm exterior. He wasn't trembling, but something in the set of his shoulders told me he was close. He motioned for me to follow him to the living room. The overhead lights were dimmed to a warm amber, and the silence felt different now. Not suffocating, not tense, just careful. He sat on the edge of the couch, leaving enough room for me to choose the distance. I hesitated before taking a seat not too close, not too far. Close enough that I could hear his breathing, steady but a little too controlled. He noticed the hesitation and let out a small, humorless chuckle. I shouldn't be this nervous, he admitted. I've performed trauma surgery with less anxiety. I smiled despite myself. Maybe because surgery patients don't talk back. He shot me a look. You'd be surprised. My smile softened. The banter felt familiar, like dusting off an old jacket that still fit perfectly. Adrian leaned back, arms resting along the back of the couch. His eyes never left mine. Earlier you asked what I want from you. I think I should tell you something else too. Something I didn't say. I waited. He took a slow breath. When you left, I wasn't angry at the reason. I was angry because I didn't get the chance to fight for you. The words hit deep, landing exactly where the old wound still lived. I looked down at my hands. I didn't want you fighting for something broken. He frowned. You weren't broken. I gave him a look. Okay, he corrected softly. You weren't broken beyond repair. A huff of laughter escaped me. That's generous. It's true. His voice dipped, gentle but steady, like a truth he'd held for years. You were hurting. You were scared. And you thought you were doing me a kindness by leaving. But Elias, leaving someone who loves you is never a kindness. My chest tightened. I didn't know how to answer that. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I need you to hear me, he said. Really hear me. You didn't ruin me. You didn't destroy my life. You just left. And it hurt. But I survived. I grew. I built things. And I don't want your apology to come from guilt. I want it to come from honesty. My throat tightened. Adrian, I'm not finished. His voice was still calm, but firm in that way only he could manage when talking about something that mattered too much. You don't owe me your life, Elias. You don't owe me a relationship. But if you're here because you want anything with me again, then you owe me your truth. The air seemed to shrink around us. I swallowed, hands curling into fists on my lap. My truth is messy. I can handle messy. It's ugly. I can handle ugly. It scares me. He leaned closer, eyes softening. I know. I exhaled shakily. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The quiet settled between us like a blanket that was both comforting and heavy. Finally, he asked softly, what hurts the most? I forced myself to answer honestly. That you waited. He blinked. That hurts you? Yes. Because I don't think I deserve it. Adrian took that in slowly, his expression softening further. Then he reached out very deliberately and took my hand in his. His fingers were warm, steady. Then let me be clear, he said. I didn't wait because I expected you to come back. I waited because some part of me wasn't ready to close that door. And now you're here. And I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to stop walking away from the things that matter. My voice cracked. And what if I fail again? Adrian squeezed my hand. Then we figure it out. Together. You don't have to do any of this alone anymore. Those words, simple, steady, unshakable, broke something open inside me. The kind of break that didn't bleed. It breathed. I didn't pull away. Adrian watched me carefully, searching for the moment I might shut down. But I didn't. Instead, I whispered, I want to try. His breath hitched so subtly I almost missed it. Then he asked, soft but certain, can I hold you? I nodded. He moved slowly, giving me every chance to step back. When his arm wrapped around my shoulders and pulled me gently against his chest, something inside me finally slipped into place. Like a puzzle piece I had forgotten I was missing. He held me like he was afraid I'd disappear but hopeful I wouldn't. And for the first time in 6 years, I let someone hold the weight I'd been carrying. I don't know how long we stayed like that. Minutes. Maybe longer. The quiet wasn't awkward. It was healing. When we finally pulled apart, Adrian stood and said, I'm making tea. You want peppermint or chamomile? I blinked. You remember I drink peppermint? He gave me a look. Elias, I remember everything. My chest warmed. He moved to the kitchen, the soft glow of the stove light outlining his silhouette. He looked so at home there, like he'd built a life that was quiet, steady, and entirely his. And yet he kept glancing over his shoulder, as if afraid I would vanish if he looked away too long. I stood and walked to the counter. He handed me a mug, cleared my throat. Adrian, I want to explain something about the day I left. He stilled. I wasn't running from you. I was running from who I was with you. He frowned. I don't understand. I took a shaky breath. You made me feel loved. You made me feel seen. And I didn't know how to accept that. My father had convinced me that love was conditional, that affection had strings, that needing someone was weakness. And suddenly you were there, offering something gentle and real and powerful. And I didn't know how to be that person you saw. Adrian's expression cracked just slightly. Elias, I didn't leave because I didn't love you, I whispered. I left because I did. The mug in his hand trembled. He put it down before it spilled. Then he stepped around the counter and stood in front of me, eyes searching mine like he needed to confirm every word wasn't a dream. You loved me? I laughed weakly. I never stopped. His breath left him in a single exhale, like something heavy he'd been carrying finally fell away. He reached out and cupped my face again, this time more certain, more sure. Then why did you wait 6 years to say it? Because I didn't think I deserved a second chance. Adrian's voice softened. You don't earn love, Elias. You accept it. My eyes burned. He lowered his forehead to mine, his voice barely a whisper. Tell me again. I swallowed hard. I love you. His thumb brushed my cheek. Say it one more time. I love you. Adrian closed his eyes, relief washing over his face like a tide coming in at last. When he opened them, something bright and vulnerable lived there. Good, because I never stopped loving you either. The floor felt unsteady, like the world shifted an inch to make room for those words. I reached for him this time, fingers curling lightly at the back of his neck. He leaned into my touch, eyes fluttering closed for half a second. He whispered, Elias, I'm gonna kiss you now. My heart kicked against my ribs. I nodded, and when Adrian kissed me, it wasn't desperate, or hungry, or angry. It was an apology, promise, a beginning. His lips were warm and soft and familiar in a way that made my knees feel unreliable. His hands held my waist gently, anchoring me. My fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer without meaning to. When we finally broke apart, breathless and shaken, he whispered, Stay tonight. I hesitated. Not like before, he assured. No pressure, no expectations. Just stay. Be here. With me. I searched his face, patient, hopeful, unyieldingly gentle. And I said, yes. We didn't sleep right away. We talked. About everything and nothing. About the bakery. His patience. My mother. His fears. My regrets. The small tragedies and small victories of the years we spent apart. By the time dawn crept in through the curtains, I was half asleep against his shoulder. He brushed my hair back with the kind of tenderness that made my throat tighten even in the haze of near dreaming. He murmured, Elias, when I said I wanted something real with you, this is what I meant. I nodded against him. I know. You think you can give me that? I lifted my head just enough to look at him. I can try. And I won't run this time. He pressed a soft kiss to my temple. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. The months that followed weren't perfect. Healing never is. We fought sometimes, cried sometimes, said things we regretted, then apologized. My mother's health improved. I started working part-time at the bakery. Adrian learned how to give me space without feeling abandoned. I learned how to let him in without feeling weak. We grew. Together. Slowly. Steadily. 6 months later, on a warm spring morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and Adrian humming in the kitchen. I walked in, kissed his cheek, and said, Morning. He smiled softly. Morning. And just like that, something simple and everyday felt like everything I'd spent years searching for. Place. A home. Person. Adrian turned, wrapped his arms around my waist, and whispered into my hair, You really did come back to me. I smiled against his chest. I did. And I'm not leaving again. His arms tightened, and I felt his smile against my temple. Good. Because you're mine. And for once, the words didn't scare me. They felt like truth. They felt like love. They felt like forever. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.